Okay, order placed at 117.097.
I think that is likely in the outcome of fiscal gridlock, but it's also reflecting, and you can look at inflation break-evens, for example, that, we're just going to get a slower grinding recovery in fiscal gridlock. You see the ADP numbers, right? We're losing momentum. We still have a pandemic that's holding back key sectors. It's going to mean less fiscal support to state and local governments, a slower employment recovery there, et cetera, et cetera. So it also means just lower for longer, slower recovery, less inflationary impulses, and all of the other things that came along with what was possibly poised to be a big fiscal push. We're not going to get that.
Julia, where is this recovery? Any other week, if we didn't have this election, we'd be looking at a blowout manufacturing read on the ISM. Looking ahead to services, thinking about the restrictions that were introduced in Massachusetts just 48 hours ago, and looking at what was playing out in Europe and wondering whether the United States goes the same way. We're not asking those questions because we're focused on one thing, a really important thing. I know that. But where is this recovery going?
Well, I think actually the data is going to matter even more in this environment because, gauging that underlying momentum.
Position open on euro at 117.097.
Less fiscal support to help us weather that. So it really is going to be how well do we organically navigate these shoals. And it's unclear. I mean, the manufacturing number, we know we're in a goods recovery. Social distancing skews towards cars and houses and home improvement and all the goods, the things that are boosting the manufacturing sector. Services, leisure and hospitality, travel, these are the things that are moribund right now. And depend both on the pandemic itself as well as the support for businesses in these industries to stay in business as we get to the other side of this pandemic. That's where the lack of fiscal is going to hurt. We're going to see more business failures, small business failures, more sort of lasting disruption. More structural disruption if this pandemic just sort of drags on and we have to see this sectoral rotation. That takes time and that will affect the employment situation, and that is what means a slower, more grinding recovery.
Well, Julia, January 20th, 2021. Let's talk about that right now. You've got to wait 3 months.
Yes.
So we've got to face the reality, the prospect of not getting that help for 3 months. Now, the data I see at the headline level still shows an economy that's doing okay. It has momentum.
It's doing okay.
Where do you think we'll be in 3 months?
Yeah, I mean, it's doing okay. We're still digging out. So half the jobs, if we're seeing the momentum of that jobs recovery slow the way ADP suggests it has, even if it just continues at the pace of last month, that's too slow when we've still got half the jobs to get back to full employment. And if we had, for example, the prospect and a well-negotiated package of fiscal support coming, at least businesses and households could sort of look towards that and sort of navigate knowing that might be coming. And so you might see more of a bridging of the gap, a willingness to spend down some of that money that's been saved as more help will be is on the way. If you don't have that, then people may stay cautious. Small businesses may cut their losses and just close up. That's the kind of, even though regardless of whether we get fiscal or not, it would be a while. If it's coming, then you're going to behave differently than if you realize it's not coming. That's right. Going to matter for the momentum in the next couple of months.
Julie, very quickly here, it's an unfair question quickly, but it's too important. Do you see any evidence that a central bank can apply policy across the inequalities of a nation, that they can affect policy for the haves and at the same time affect it for the have-nots?
No, I mean,
I'm placing stop on profit for euro at 117. $11.7. Okay.
I think it's time for some blue sky thinking about monetary tools, fiscal monetary tools working in collaboration in terms of automatic stabilizers, digital currencies. I think we need to start having this conversation. And this is a global phenomenon, right? I think Geeta Gopinath had a nice editorial in the FT the other day on this. Monetary policy is kind of running out of power, and we either need to restore that power with new tools or think about structures for better fiscal monetary coordination.
Julia, great to catch up with you. Thanks for coming on the program this morning. Julia Coronado there, Macro Policy Perspectives President and Founder. Quick check-in on the price action and the results as they pour in. The counting continues, things tightening up in Michigan. That lead in Wisconsin remains for Vice President Joe Biden. The tally so far, Biden 238, Trump 213. The scores on the board right now, equity futures up around about 60. We advance 1.75% in the equity market. In the bond market, just a tiny bid at the long end on a 10-year, down 12 basis points to 0.783%. In just a moment, coming up at the open, I'll be stepping away, but I'll be catching up with Libby Cantrell of PIMCO, Tom, on the road forward, the path forward, not for the next week, the next 3 months, but I assume the next couple of hours.
Yeah, well, the next couple of hours, not only people waking up, we'll get to that in a moment on Georgia, but yes, Libby Cantrell forward to a lame duck and then on to whatever we have in January. What I would also suggest, Lisa, is the idea of Debbie Dingell over on the Today Show talking up the esteemed Congresswoman from Michigan and really part of the political landscape of Michigan. Quote, Joe Biden will win Michigan. And she's supposed to say that, Lisa, but there it is nevertheless, that confidence as we get more results in.
Yeah, people are looking at the way the composition is coming in. Remember, a lot of the Detroit region hadn't been counted, and now it is being counted, and it is coming in strongly for the former vice president. That said, still a lot more to go. I will just say, interesting Georgia race, very close call. There are about 127,000 absentee and mail-in ballots still to be counted in both DeKalb County as well as the county where Atlanta sits. Hard to see how Joe Biden is going to overcome about 100,000 vote lead for President Trump currently, but just such a neck-and-neck race, Tom.
Yeah, we'll have to see 87% now estimated counted in Michigan. Isaac Boltanski joins us. He was with us, it was yesterday or the day before, can't remember, with Compass Point Research. And we look at policy, and we do it now with a different view of a new
Position closed on euro. We have 200 pounds in profit.
Well, I think it's important first and foremost to talk about stimulus, and that's the question that my clients have focused on. And if Leader McConnell stays Leader McConnell and the Republicans have the majority in the Senate, then the scale and scope of any fiscal stimulus next year will be lessened. And I think that what we'll see, especially if Leader McConnell has Biden in the White House, is Republicans returning to their perch as fiscal hawks and pushing back on absolutely everything in his agenda, including the broad-based fiscal stimulus that I think was the underpinning of the reflation trade in recent days. How does it play to 2022? We've had many guests speak of the primary season for both parties, which begins, I believe, today, maybe tomorrow. But how does this new calculus play to